Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is Pamela Marie Edmunds, and this is Love Never Dies radio show, broadcast here on Zoom from Sedona, Arizona, the Red Rocks of Sedona. Welcome. Welcome to other people who I have not been able to say hi to. I'm going to continue here with our show. And warm weather out here in the western part of the country. And myself being in Sedona, we were up to 60 degrees here in Sedona today, which is a nice temp. Our guest is out in Las Vegas, and she said it was warm too, and it's going to be 70 out there tomorrow. So I guess in the East Coast, people are not. You guys got to come visit some of us, is what you got to do, okay? you know. Anyway, so I am a medium and been working with mediumship now probably since the late 90s, and been doing radio since a few years after that. My first show was Bridge Between Two Worlds, which I created, and I've since passed on to a dear friend, June Evans, and she broadcasts with that on occasion from New Hampshire. But Love Never Dies was a new energy. That's what I needed to do because I find as I change, things around me need to change. I think a lot of people understand that as we shift our energy, as we grow, as we um, elevate ourselves on that spiritual path. So Love Never Dies is the current name, and that's what this is about. Um, I also work with theta healing, work with the animals, and the animals are going to be a big deal too at some point, as an animal
Okay, here.
communicator. So,
So you went on Facebook to Medium
oh,
Rescue?
right.
No,
And if
go to the event. Listed.
somebody's just joined us, if you
Okay.
could please just mute your mic, or I'll end up muting it because conversation, thank you very much, is coming into the conversation here. Thank you so much. And this particular show, if you're interested for future shows, will be recorded and placed on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Pamela Marie Edmunds, if you want to listen to it, if you want to share it with someone else. And there are other interviews there that you can listen to. As far as say down the road, you said, gee, I'm wondering what Pamela's show's up to. What's going on? Love Never Dies. The information for the show is on my website, PamelaMarieEdmunds.com. Okay. So if you want the meeting number, it's not going to change. It's right there. And the passcode and a listing of who is coming up for future shows, of which I'll just touch on that real quick while we're discussing that. Next week, I will be doing a live show called Messages of Love from Heaven. If you join us, I will do my best to give you a message from Spirit. Go to whomever is available, and that is recorded too. It's a fun group because we can see and sense everybody, right? We don't have to be wearing those masks, and I need to put it that way. Yes, they have a purpose, but here on Zoom, we don't need to be doing that. Okay, especially those of us who are sensitive or who are intuitive, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of connect with the others that are here with us. So that's next week's show. And the week after that, I've got somebody from Maine coming in. Her name is Chris Ann, and it's going to be mediumship in the Akashic Records. Her readings are a combination of the two. She connects with loved ones, and then she brings through information from the Akashic Records, which is on a soul level. Wonderful. Soul level. That's so important for us now. So, and I just talked to her yesterday, just booked her yesterday. The week after that, I'll be doing a solo show. I'm looking to see who else is coming up. Hang on. A guest, Charlene Spitzer. She's from California. And our topic is still in the air, so to speak. I met her in Wisconsin while I was doing a class for something called the Morris Pratt. If anybody who's around any of the spiritualist church, it is a program for testing for studies of spiritualism and mediumship. And it was a course for pastoral skills. So she will be coming on. I've got a couple special people here. Anybody know the name Suzanne Geisman?
Yes.
Yeah. She's got a wonderful story. She was in the Navy. She had a rather high rank. Yes. And all of a sudden, she developed her mediumship skills. And she's a very prominent medium. She's a sweetheart. I have had her on as a guest before. And we're going to be doing something called Still Right Here with her. That's the March 10th. Hang on, I still got a couple other people coming up. Give me a minute. Joanne Gerber will be on, for anybody who knows her from Massachusetts. And we'll be talking about what a research medium is. Interesting topic. Let me see. I think that's about it. And Stephen Herman has been on. For those of you who know Stephen Herman, there's a recording of him on the YouTube channel. Let's see who else. June Lane Evans has been on from New Hampshire. Joe Higgins. He is from Fall River, Massachusetts, and wonderful sharing about his book from the children. The insights from the children, from spirit, people who've lost children, but going into the soul level, contracts, etc. Why did they have to leave at such a young age? Why did they have to go through such an experience? And I know a couple of you who are listening to me talk right now are familiar with him, and we're here. And there's a few others I can't think off the top of my head. Patty McGarrahan. She's from Rhode Island. Wonderful medium, and she's a fun lady. And we talked about the crystal children. Apparently, she's been getting a lot of information from the crystal children, and these are some of the gifted kids. And how do we help them? Because a lot of them are coming in and around many of us who are already awake. So there's lots coming. And matter of fact, just sent an email out to somebody who's got a new book. And the book is about the medium's explosion. Robert Ginsburg of the Forever Family Foundation. For those of you who are familiar with that, New York, it's a wonderful group, but I just sent out an invitation for him to be a guest. So it's 2021 is going to be exciting. So I could talk forever. Make a great host, don't we? Talking is important, isn't it? But I've got a wonderful guest here that I want to introduce. And I'm going to do first, before she speaks, I'm going to read her biography. And I pulled this off your website, dear. Okay. And basically is Amy Major is her name. Amy Major is a professional rescue medium, healer, trainer, teacher, and author. A successful, rescue medium healer in the New England area for 17 years. Did you make it 17, dear?
20 now.
20 years, but now you're West Coast.
Now
Okay. Right. She has both studied and worked at the New Millennium Psychic Center in Derry, New Hampshire, and was also the lead medium in the Psychic Ghostbusters team, conducting many spirit investigations and rescues. Always interested in her development. Amy has studied under some of the best meetings in the area, as well as specialized schools focusing on psychic and mediumship abilities. She is considered one of the best up-and-coming mediums in the New England area. Now the Las Vegas area, okay? Right? Okay. A strong proponent of education, Amy instructs classes in intuitive development, mediumship, rescue mediumship throughout New England, now Las Vegas, and through online resources available throughout the world. Amy's main focus is in energy healing, attachment removal, which we'll be discussing, I'm sure, rescue mediumship, and home clearing. Amy's a spiritualist, an active member of the Church of Spiritual Life in Derry, New Hampshire, soon to become a member, one of the churches in the Las Vegas area, right?
The Desert Church, yes.
Good, good, awesome. She's been a member for over 16 years. Her first book, Toward the Light, Rescuing Spirits, Trapped Souls, and Earthbound Ghosts, has gained popularity throughout the spiritual and paranormal communities. And I know there's a second book, we'll add that towards the end here. She's also a regular guest on several well-known international spiritual and paranormal radio and television shows. Okay, I'm just going to list them. Late Night City with Pete Price, Ghost Chronicles, ZZ Talk Radio, The Buzz, Matrix of Perception, Bridge Between Two Worlds Radio Show, Jim Harold Radio Show, Warren Exchange Radio, Spirit Talk with Chris Fleming, Coast to Coast AM, Crystal Vision, Stirring the Cauldron of the Para X Radio Network, Strange Secret, Universe Blog Talk, Psychic Tapestry, Intuitive Life Network Radio Show, the Janet Love Blog Talk Radio Show, Norman Friends, and many more. I think we got the highlights. The second book. What's the title of the second book?
Second book, Light the Way.
Okay. Okay. And this is Amy Major, if you hadn't guessed. So, Amy, did I touch the highlights?
You did. It just reminds me I need to update the bio to say where I am now.
What happens. Isn't that?
It's like
And the business
life.
cards, need to change. We need to do whatever on that. And it's,
Yeah, a lot of updates on the website recently. I'm actually almost finished with my third book now, which is called Release to Light. And that's mainly on attachment removal and energy clearing, whereas my first two books have been mainly on rescue mediumship and how to develop.
And can you please share what your website is?
www.amymajor.com. I make it really difficult.
Yeah. She's got a sense of humor too.
Yes, I do.
So, and just so you notice, Amy and I have frequented at times in similar circles. And matter of fact, Amy moved out to Las Vegas. How many months ago now?
Only 2.5 months ago.
Okay.
Very recent.
I moved out to Sedona 5 years ago, but I'm coming from Massachusetts. And we both did it on internal guidance or external guidance, whatever you want to say, from those that work with us, knowing it would serve our best and highest good, and those that we are meant to touch is their best and highest good, right?
Exactly.
Because I think you're only about 4 hours away from me.
I think so. I'm only about 45 minutes from the Arizona border.
Okay, wonderful. How did you get involved with mediumship? Can we touch upon that first?
Oh, that's a
Or
lot.
or healing, mediumship and healing, because they go hand in hand, don't they?
They really do. I've been communicating and listening to voices in my head my whole life. I think since I was like 2 or 3 years old, when I comprehended communication and voice. And I just been talking with them my whole life, but never knew I was a medium. Out of body experiences, past life regression, past life dreams, being able to communicate with my animal guide and totems, being able to see apparitions. But I grew up in a very closed-minded, agnostic family. They didn't talk about spirituality. My mom did talk about psychic ability, and she did actually say she can communicate with spirits. She used to say all the time, I'm just sitting here talking to your dead grandmother, and she's very cold. And I'm just like, okay, Ma. I just didn't believe it because my mother did have mental illnesses. So I pushed it off thinking it was mental illness. It wasn't me until I was about 22, where I had an astrology reading that told me I was a strong psychic and medium and going to devote my life to doing that work. And I found myself at April Sharon's office when she had the new millennium many years ago, 20 years ago. And I started getting lessons from her and the center. Within a few weeks, I was working, and everybody confirmed, yes, you're a medium. So I opened up the mediumship, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't realize the voices I've been hearing my whole life was mediumship. I just thought I was talking to myself through my subconscious. I didn't know. So I started doing readings, and they were very clear. But the difference is when I was sitting in these circle groups, and you're very familiar, the spiritual church circle groups, of how many years of doing that.
Yep.
I found that there was a very strong difference between me and all the other mediums. And all the other mediums, when they'd open up, they'd connect to spirits on the other side. I would open up, and the whole room would start filling with heavy energy. And everyone would look at me like, what are you bringing in here? And I'm like, I don't know. And then over time, we realized as soon as I opened up, all the earthbound spirits came into the room, and they were all sitting there waiting to communicate. But 20 years ago, that was no, we don't talk to those spirits. All those spirits are bad. And therefore they would tell me not to talk to them and to push them away. So I sat in circle group for a long time without being able to say anything, until I just demanded that I was able to communicate with the other side. I demanded my guides allow me to communicate with the other side, because I didn't feel I was really going anywhere with the earthbound energies. I'm like,
Right.
my guides kept telling me I was supposed to help the earthbound spirits. That was my job. That was what I was supposed to be doing. But I pushed it away for years. I wanted nothing to do with it until I had my first rescue that was so profound to me that I was just, that's it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know this is, so many people have all these ill feelings and a lot of miscommunication, and I would say a lot of delusional thoughts about what earthbound spirits are. But when I had that and it was with a child, I was immediately like, that's it. This is healing. All rescue work is truly healing work. Yes, a lot of earthbound spirits can be very demanding. Some can carry very low frequencies. They can be quite scary on some occasion, but the foundation of rescue work is to heal and help spirits move on. And it took a very long time for me to develop my rescue skills, because I didn't have anyone training me. I didn't have a lot of people giving me guidance on rescue. I'd go to the library and everything would be on haunted house and ghost hunting, and nothing on rescue mediumship. And I'm like, one day I'm going to write a book. I'm going to talk about this. And I was just, and my guide's like, not yet, not yet. It took a decade after that of stating I'm going to write a book that my guide said, you can write the book now, my dear. And that's when I wrote the first book. But I've just been training other people in rescue mediumship and healing. I do energy healing work as well, because that evolved from the rescue mediumship. I found a lot of people coming to me had earthbound spirits embedded into them, is what we call an attachment. So I started doing a lot of hands-on healing work. I did a lot of hands-on healing through spiritualist churches, but it kind of trained me how to send energy healing in high frequency, pushing out low frequency, working with vortexes, calling in spirit guides. It all sort of evolved through trial and error, and over the course of a decade just kind of mastered it, and now I train people all over the world.
Wonderful. And as you keep talking, what's coming to mind is something that is extremely important in what all that you're talking about
Yes.
is learning how to protect yourself.
Yes.
And if you do take something on that's negative, I'll put it that way, how to release it.
Right. Exactly.
And
can't
that's
think of all-
and that's important to just mediumship, period. But it's another whole level because you're dealing with a lot of dark forces.
There's a lot of mediums that would say otherwise, which I have the wonderful debates with. Because if there's light, then there's dark. And if you're a medium and you don't control your frequency, you're opening the door to both. So protection is required.
Right, right. So when we're talking releasement,
Mhm.
we're talking it at so many levels. And I think you
Yes.
touched on it as you were giving your personal introduction to self. Let's put it that way here for the show. Releasement from someone's home, releasement from obviously other places, someone's personal being, but also releasing stuck energies that haven't gone to the light yet, right?
Right. Exactly.
Whether they're attached to somebody, they're in somebody's living environment, or what they are.
Right. Exactly. They could be a whole soul, they could be a fractured soul, they could be a thought imprint, a thought projection, residual energy, energy cluster. There are so many different forms of attachment that I teach. It isn't just an earthbound spirit. Releasement is letting go and release of any energy that is not wanted or at a lower frequency. So
Do you have any stories you want to share in regards to this? There's so much we could be talking about. You've got two books that have been published now. Let's just mention the names again, because we do have a few people who have come in since you've shared all that. You've got two books published now, and what are they again?
Toward the light and light the way.
And the third book that is in process.
You notice I use the word light in all my books. The third book is Release to Light.
Okay.
Yep.
And it almost sounds to me like you keep going to a deeper level with them. Is that kind of?
It's taking it to a more advanced level every time. I usually write about one chapter in one book, and then I expand it into a whole book, because you can't write just one chapter on releasement or energy clearing. That's it. If I could choose to, I would write 3 books.
Okay.
Just in that. But you try to condense it as much as you can.
Okay.
So it's going to be great to help people release their own energies.
Okay. And what I almost want to put a disclaimer out that this is all work that can be dangerous for us. And we need to have somebody leading us, teaching us, so that we can be doing it in the right way to protect ourselves and to protect others. Right?
It usually should be through instruction. Like when I sat in a development circle, when I go to classes, I have thousands of people around the world contacting me, asking me for guidance, because they don't want to do it wrong, or they don't want to be intimidated or compromised in any way due to the energies that they're feeling all around them. So what I try to promote the most is confidence, strength, light, positive energy, your free will. All these things really help create the protection that most people need for the work.
Well, and a couple things that come into mind as I'm listening to you, Amy, is that prayer's got to be important, the intention that you're putting out, but also your own personal healing.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you're in a negative place, you're going to attract negativity to you.
But they need to understand why.
Exactly, because it's a lesson. It's something that they've got to learn.
Right. Right. And I really try to teach a lot about different levels of frequency of energy and how people can change their frequency depending on the dimension and the level of spirit activity that they're wishing to obtain. And then they really have to take a strong reflection upon their own energy. And I always tell people, start from the core and work your way out. See, I have so many people telling me, the outside of my auric field is wonderful, nice and bright, but I'll step into their energy and I'll see all the wounds and all the trauma they may be holding within their chakra system. And I tell them, you can have the strongest auric field, but it's eventually going to break down if your central system of your auric energy is not in the right place. If it's at a lower frequency, it brings the whole system down.
Okay.
So you really need to start working on what level of energy you want to be at. That's part of protection.
Okay. Do you teach? Are you putting some classes together? Have you got any upcoming classes, maybe on Zoom, online, or something that people might want to check out too?
All my classes are on Zoom right now. Right now, I'm teaching 2 classes. I'm teaching the 7 main chakras, the awareness of the chakras, the activation and the healing of the chakra system. I'm also teaching an extended chakra system. So these are chakras outside the main 7, go into more enlightenment, raising frequency, connecting into higher dimensions. In the next few months, I'm teaching a advanced psychic development class, an advanced mediumship class, an energy healing attachment removal class. And of course, I'm always teaching rescue mediumship every month.
And these are all posted on
On my website.
Amy Major or Majors? Major. Okay, major.com. And you do post you also are on Facebook and other social media. Well, although that's starting to change all around us, isn't
I'm not
it?
a big fan of social media. I mean, ask Bridget. She's always trying to get me to go on to many different platforms like Twitter and Snapchat and no. I'm not big on social media. And I know that's one thing I promised to change this year in 2021. I got my website, I've got Facebook, and I'm not a big fan of Twitter. I just have to say.
Well, Twitter's got some problems right now with all that's going on, and even Facebook does right now too.
Yeah.
But it's part of all this mass of changes that are happening around us in
Right.
the planet.
Well, we've been waiting for a change because there was MySpace, gosh, like 12, 15 years ago, and then changed to Facebook. So I'm just waiting for the next big thing before I really switch over. I know there's a few out there, but they've all been shut down.
Right. So what is important for you to share with these people here who are here and want to hear about rescue mediumship?
Well, I think the biggest part about the rescue mediumship that people need to understand is the healing aspect, that it's not all doom, gloom, scary ghosts.
Thank you. Good.
Social media tries to really push down people's throats. And I really want to give the story of the first rescue I did that really changed my opinion about doing this work. And the story is many, many years ago, I was just training as a rescue medium, and April Sharon, who was my teacher, said, Amy, I can't go to this investigation. I need you to go and be the lead for me this time. Me being like 25 years old, I'm like, yes, I'm the lead. So I felt great about that. And I went with Karen Mossy, who does EVP, and a few other specialists. We went to Maine, and they had complained of a lot of activity in the house. So I'm walking through and I'm literally seeing Snapchat images of residual time placement imprints, which are things that were there before, which aren't, but they left an imprint, like a picture before. So I'm reading all the energy, and the homeowner's like, oh my God, how do you know all this? And I'm just reading it. We walk into the house and there's 2 spirits there, and they're like, yep, we're here. but we're ready to go. And I opened up the door and off they went. And I'm thinking that was just too easy. I'm like, I was really expecting something more. I'm like, why did these spirits create such a fuss if they were so ready to go and knew that they were dead, were ready to move on? I'm like, something else is up, just that feeling. So I start walking out the back door and there's a huge field in front of me. And next thing I know, I'm looking off to my right and there's a little boy. And he's no more than like 10 to 12 years old. And he's running through the field and he's waving his arms around and he's yelling at me. He's like, I'm still here. And he's running at me. And I'm like, stop it in my tracks. I'm like, oh my God, there's a boy. And everyone's looking, where? I'm like, well, he's dead. You can't see him. There's a boy. He's coming running towards me. And then I start seeing the flashes. That's how I used to do my mediumship. I'd get images, flashes in my third eye. I would start seeing water. I start seeing him being bound up. He showed me his face. He told me he was dumped in a river. He told me he was taken by two men. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And so I bring in his grandmother who's on standby. She holds his hands, up they go into the light. I'm like, okay, good. Took like 5 minutes. And I turn and the homeowner's like, what did you just do? You kind of went off somewhere. I'm like, well, I just explained, this is what I saw. Their faces went white. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you know who that was? That was Jeffrey. I forget his name. If anyone remembers his name, but his name was Jeffrey. His body was dumped a mile from his house, the house that I was in. There was a river a mile from the house. He had been murdered a few years prior. He was taken in Massachusetts, molested and murdered by two men, taken to New Hampshire, taken to South Berwick, Maine, dumped in a river. And the river was a mile from the house I was doing the investigation. And I didn't know, I'd only been in New Hampshire for like 3 years. I didn't know the history. And they're like, that was Jeffrey. And they told me this story. And like, I can't believe he's been here this whole time. And I described him to a T. I had no idea who this child was. And at that moment, I realized if I hadn't been here, how much longer would this child had been stuck? He knew he was dead. He knew he wasn't where he was supposed to be, but he couldn't figure out where to go. He was lost and he was alone. And I'm just like, that's it. This is what I have to do. I want to rescue all the children in the world, because I was a mom. I had a newborn baby. So I feel that he felt really comfortable with me and I could see him clear as day. And I helped him transition. And I said, that wasn't evil. That wasn't dark. That wasn't anything scary. So why are people running from this? Why are so many mediums not talking about this? It just didn't make sense to me. So through the years, I started doing more and more and more. And yes, you've got some bad apples out there that really kind of ruin rescue because you've got the really nasty spirits that step in and just kind of harass. But once you learn your shielding, once you learn how to handle your free will, you start really helping the spirits that need the time and attention and the extra assistance to move on. So it's really, really big. There's a lot of mediums out there that ask the question, why do spirits need our help? If God can handle the death process, why do they need our help? And my answer is always the same. Why do mediums need to provide messages to people here on the planet? Why can't the spirits just do it themselves? Why can't people just trust it? Why does there have to be a helper? And I said, God gifted some of us extra abilities to be able to do the work. And that's how God is helping. That's how God is doing the work. They're doing it through us. So we have to stop saying God doesn't need us because it's obvious God does.
And one of the root purposes, reasons is love.
Absolutely.
Love never dies. You mentioned how each one of your books, your current 2 books and your new book that will be coming out, all have the word light in it.
Yes.
Same energy, love and light. And that's why mediumship itself is so important. It keeps us connected from that love bond that we created this past life, many lifetimes before, whatever. Uh, but it's also because they love us. They want to help us. They want to support us. So it was interesting after I got the nudge to connect with you for a show. I looked down and it says rescue mediumship. How does that fit with Love Never Dies? Well, it's all on love. It's all about love. It's like some people have strayed from love. Okay, the love is still there. It's about them finding it within themselves and us helping them.
And that's
Bottom
one
line.
thing the spirits aren't really finding, because you're thinking earthbound spirits have a very different mentality, a very different awareness than spirits on the other side.
Yeah.
And when I say other side, I don't think there's a wall and then you climb it and then you're on the other side. There are many levels in between of transition. But spirits that are in the lower states of consciousness, the lower astral realm, they're needing love. They're needing help. Spirits on the other side give love. They give help. And that's how I can tell if it's an earthbound or if it's a spirit on the other side, based on their frequency, but also based on their needs. What do they need? What do they want to give? What are they aware of? What's their frequency? It tells me the story of who they are. And that's the biggest, one of the most important things of rescue mediumship is communication. You communicate with these spirits. Who are they? What's their story? What is it that they need from us? Why haven't they moved on? The second biggest aspect of rescue mediumship is counseling. We're here to lend a helping hand. We're here to give them healing energy. We're here to help maybe pass the message on that they aren't able to do on their own. We are their communicators. So we're supposed to counsel them, but also counsel others about their situation. And the last part is guidance. We're here to help guide them to the other side, whether it's bringing somebody in, a loved one, an angel, opening up a door, or just getting them to shift their awareness to a higher frequency so they're able to make that transition on their own. You have to take every case one at a time. There's no one size fits all for any type of rescue. Everything is different. When you have one spirit, or if you have 100 spirits, you have to just kind of wait and see how it kind of evolves and how it transitions on its own.
Yeah. Now, Amy, right now we're in a very, very different time here on this planet
Yeah.
with the COVID-19 virus, the pandemic, people needing to isolate. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. And all the losses of human life that are going on. A lot of people are leaving. And I want to say a lot of them have chosen to leave
Yes.
this time. Okay. And so how is your work different since this has happened? How has it changed? Is it intensified?
It really hasn't changed at all since COVID. And the reason being is I was given the message like 6 months before COVID came out. And the message was the other side is changing, evolving, and transitioning to a higher state of consciousness. We have higher selves on the other side. These higher selves can't make the transition into this new consciousness with their souls being on the planet. They have immunity of themselves to make the full transition and change. We change here, they change there. It's part of the consciousness change and evolution. So they said, get ready for a major cleanse of souls off the planet, because they have to go to the other side, align with the higher selves, and go through this process. So it's not a bad thing. It's not sad. And I kind of joked around with them. I'm like, what are going to be mass suicides? What is this? How are all these people going to leave the planet? And they said, don't worry, you'll know in a few months. And it's going to be hundreds, if not millions, hundreds of thousands to millions of people leaving the planet. That being said, those who are passing from COVID, their souls made the agreement to go there. There's a control team around each soul that leaves the body due to COVID because it's already orchestrated on the other side. Yes, there's free will in the death process, but the higher selves align with the souls. They make the transition. You have no idea how important this is for the other side. They're not going to mess this up. So it really hasn't changed for the earthbound status.
Okay. But you see why I wanted to ask that question. It's like, because some of these souls may be getting lost, right?
They can if they make the decision not to go into the light.
Okay.
If there's something that's still holding them back here.
Okay.
And I've been asking my rescuers, because I have rescue mediumship page on Facebook. It's a chat group for rescuers all over the world. They've seen some changes in the energy over the last year. It's been intense, but it hasn't gone up. So it's the same intensity, same frequency of rescuers we've had before.
Yeah, it sounds to me because Spirit was prepared for it.
They were all ready for it. Whether they're consciously aware of it or not, they're all ready for it.
Okay.
But the reason why rescue is so important now is because more people are actually becoming earthbound in the death and the transition process than ever before in history. On top of that, the frequency of our planet has changed. It's actually elevated.
Yes.
So our bodies and our consciousness on the planet have elevated. We've now moved into a frequency where we can see these earthbound spirits more than we ever have before. So now there's a greater increase of numbers. We can see them more, and we have more mediums now are falling in line with wanting to do rescue work than ever before. My guides told me a while ago, rescue was going to be highly important over the next few years into the few decades, which is why it's so extremely important to teach this, educate as many rescue mediums as possible, and get them to work.
Right. And what comes to mind as you're saying that, you work with the people back east, and now you're out on the western part of the country to work with people out here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yes, the internet has become much more necessary for all of us because we have been at home and needing to be at home because of the virus. And it's almost like those links across the planet
Right.
are enhancing.
They are.
You know?
I have clients all over the world. I just think my influence may be coming more out west now, where it's always been on the East Coast. The influence is definitely coming out to west. But I do hope in the next year or two to really start traveling and teaching rescue all around the country, not just in a particular area.
Yep. So is there something else you want to share, or should we go to see what kind of questions people have or want to share, because we have some people.
No, I would love questions. I love questions.
Okay, great. What I want to tell everybody who's here is who of the audience, okay? I'm the host, and then of course Amy's the guest, but the audience, if you put your hand up, okay, and let us know that you would like to talk, like to share with Amy, and we'll unmute your mic from there. Anybody would like to?
Hand icon that people...
Okay, Judy, I see Judy's hand. Judy, I'm not sure if okay, let's see. Unmute. I don't know if you're free, girl. Go ahead.
Well, my curiosity is about animals. do animals ever get stuck? Do they stay here by choice sometimes rather
That's
than
a great question.
moving on?
Yep. Yep. I did put some of the information in my first book, Toward the Light.
Mm.
I believe actually animals have a much more evolved consciousness than humans do. Therefore, they have a whole lot less baggage that they're holding on to in the transition process. They have more unconditional love. So their transition is very easy for them to do. The only animals that I find would stay behind would be service animals. Animals like nursing home cats or military dogs. The other section of animals that I do find may be earthbound, but not as much as before, are animals being slaughtered, animals being raised in horrific conditions, used for meat processing. Those animals, believe it or not, have already transitioned before they even were slaughtered. They share a collective consciousness. The other side's fully aware of it. But those animals usually transition very quickly because they don't want to stay here. They want nothing left. There was nothing to hold on to, no love for them to hold on to. The service animals would be the ones that want to stay right by our side. They sometimes transition and then come back to be with us all the time.
Yes, this boy here, if you can see in the picture,
I do.
Babu. And after he passed here, he was with me every day, every day.
Right. They
And
do need
I didn't feel like
transition.
that he was being held here. It was his choice. He was where he wanted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There aren't any animals that are held against their will. There actually isn't. And no spirit is actually stuck. They use the word stuck all the time. Like I can't, like they can't move, they can't transition. The reason why people use stuck is because their awareness keeps them at a certain place where they're not able to see how to transition. They don't know where to go. Therefore, they feel stuck, but they aren't actually stuck. There are some situations for earthbound spirits called hostage situations, and those are some really nasty situations. I've had a few of those where I've had to pull away children from hostage situations in an earthbound spirit status. So they would be considered stuck, but they're only stuck because they make the decision to stay due to fear. So I don't like to say spirits can't transition because they're not capable of doing it. It's always a choice. It's always their free will. And it usually is somehow affected by a negative emotion.
Great. Thank you, Judy, for that question.
Oh, and
Because
thank
a lot
you.
of us here are animal lovers, and I've come to learn that animals are also evolving like we are. They're at a different level, but they're evolving so much. Just like, yeah, very, very important. Thank you. Thank you. And wonderful. Somebody else want to ask a question? Put a hand up in the screen. Lori.
When do I not want to talk about something? My mom passed away in November, just because she was old, had complications, and my grandson, who I didn't think was open, is open, because he can see my son, who died 4 years ago from brain cancer. But when my mom passed, he had a dream, and he asked his mom and dad, wasn't that dream great? And my daughter said, what dream? And he goes, you didn't dream the same thing? Because he thinks everybody has the same dream. And he said that my dead cat came down from heaven to get my mother, and they went back together. Now, he's never met my old cat, but he knew her.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so he's like super open.
And
So yes, he's very, I was tying his shoes one day, and he looked over my shoulder and he goes, I see somebody. And I went, oh, who is it? He goes, I don't know, but I see somebody. And then he just went off to play.
Yep.
Like it was, it was nothing. So So they all know that when they get very aggravated, that they can't get through. They can't get any messages. And unfortunately, they get that from me. Yeah, I was very irritated. So I didn't have, any protection. Although I had asked for it. They're like, she's so stubborn. But I was wondering, do the animals go more towards kids or just somebody who's like super open? We almost have like a spiritual highway here. I don't know. It's all family and friends, and there's always somebody hanging out. Always.
Right. Really, animals go to everybody. They mainly go to the people that give off a vibration and something in their aura that says, I'm welcoming, I'm safe, you can be around me and give a message. So they're not going to go around people that have a lot of anger or some emotional issues. They're going to go around the healers, the comforters, the mothers, the children, the elderly, somebody that these spirits feel comfortable going to give these messages. It's very interesting about the animals though, because I had a cat. He was 5 years old and he got outside, wasn't supposed to, came home. Within 2 weeks, he was sick. He started losing a lot of weight, deteriorated very quickly, took him to the vet. The vet said, there's nothing we can do. He's showing signs of heart failure and his abdomen is swelling with fluid. And I said, well, I'm not giving up. And they said, well, it's okay. We'll give you some antibiotics and see if it will help. I took him home, gave him antibiotics. Within an hour, he suffocated to death in my lap.
Oh my gosh.
And this was my baby, and I was devastated. I saw a blue light come out of his head and go up into the sky. And it was right after his death. So I saw his soul leave his body.
Wow.
A week later, I was at a spiritualist church. We were packing up for the night. This is on a main road with a lot of cars. And we're sitting there in the main room, and there's a double door, glass door looking outside. We're looking outside, and there's a cat walking across the street. It stops in the middle of the road and walks straight over to our building and walks up the stairs and starts staring at me through the glass. And we've never seen an animal ever do that. Now, this is a main road. It walks through a main road, and you can't even see us from the other side of the street. You have to walk up because it's dark. It was dark inside the building. No one can see us. But the cat walked all the way up and stared at us for 5 minutes, looking. It was a week after my cat died. And I said, that was my cat coming to let me know he's okay. So they make their impressions on us. They give us messages in so many different ways, and they do come through in spirit form all the time. Who here has ever had that feeling of something walking up the blanket on their leg at night? Oh, used to freak me out when I was 16, 17. Happened all the time. And, after years, I found out, oh, it's just animals coming, walking up our feet and our legs and coming and sitting next to us. But you can feel the impressions of the blankets of these animals. And I always say, don't be afraid. Just sit there and just say, I'm so glad you came to visit.
Now, the dog that we have now absolutely hates my cat. Pamela Marie and I have been through this because she said the cat antagonizes the dog because she sits there and looks at her.
Combination, yeah.
And, well, I thought maybe the dog would give up because the cat really got it good. But the dog sleeps with me. And I find it very strange that when I feel a spirit animal come up on the bed, the dog kind of looks in that direction, but gives no other reaction at all, just goes to sleep. And I'm like, okay, she really doesn't care for any other animals. So I'm not sure what her life was like before she got here. I'm going to assume it wasn't good at all. But yeah, she just kind of takes the spirit animals with a grain of salt, and it doesn't bother them. So, okay.
Other animals that are alive can see deceased animals very easily.
Right.
And I think it's great. My Chihuahua and my Pomchi that both passed away came through and visited us. I can see them like the animals can see them. But they come walking in the door right after they've passed and kind of look at me and like, all right, we're moving on, but I just want to thank you for everything you did for me and taking care of me, but I'm going to move on now and like go and do what you need to do. But I'm waiting for my cat to come back more often. I miss him
Thank you.
in physical form. But thank you for the
Lori.
question.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just on the hour, and I know Amy's a busy girl.
Yeah.
Tonight. She's got an online class. What are you teaching tonight?
Tonight is we're going to be going to the third eye. We're going to be teaching the third eye activation, and an astral meditation to open up the third eye with the higher self.
Mhm. And those of you that are not familiar with the chakras, the energy centers of our body, they're important, very important for our growth. And I'm going to put in the word here, ascension.
Yes.
And that word has not been used yet on tonight's show, but it's all about our spiritual awakening, our growth on all levels. So, could we take a short question, see if somebody has a real quickie? Somebody else? No. And how about some of these people that are in the darkness? I can't tell if you want to give a question or not. No? Oh, okay. But I want to say, you're talking about animals real quick then. If nobody else wants to say anything, maybe I will, okay? Animals can also do things that people can do in the way of coming in and overshadowing another being. I have a cat that my dog, who's in spirit, will come in and overshadow at times. Has anybody ever seen a cat retrieve a ball? Isn't that a dog thing?
Well, they go after anything that kind of goes on the floor, but it all depends on if they grab
it and bring it back to you.
Yeah.
Like a dog would. But no. So I just want to say is, these animals are extremely intelligent now. And there's a lot of healing that they're bringing to all of us. And that's an important piece. So Amy Major, it's www.amymajor.com. And books again are all
the light.
Yep.
Light the Way, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, anywhere you can go online. You can find the links on my website as well with my books.
Wonderful. And when is the new book going to come out?
That's a good question.
You're not sure yet. Okay.
As soon as I'm done, it should hopefully be done in the next month or two.
So you're still
writing. I want to get this one right. It's just, I've been so busy with my move and then teaching, but this is a really important book. So many people are going to use this book for their own personal clearing. And because I have people all over the world, like, I feel like this energy's here. I feel like that energy's here. How do I get rid of it? So it's going to be very good as far as personal attachment clearing.
A self-help book then, as far as negative.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Anything else you'd like to share here so I can let you go?
No, I'm just very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Same here.
I love talking about rescue work. So any chance that I get to, I will.
Well, it's your passion. We many of us in this line of work, it's part of the reason we're doing it is because we're seeing how important it is, but we're also passionate for it. So passionate. So we want to all thank you for being here, and this will be posted on my YouTube channel, Pamela Marie Edmunds, in a couple hours, and I'll send you the link, Amy, and hopefully you've got a place on your website where you can put the link so people can listen to it and see a little bit more about what your work is about. Let's see. And next week, I just want to say again, I will be your guest, your host and guest, doing Messages of Love from Heaven. Come in and join us, be a part of the audience and receive a message from a loved one. And lots of other wonderful people coming on board. And my website, PamelaMarieEdmunds.com, has its own page for Love Never Dies radio show. Gives you the meeting ID number, the meeting password, and a list of upcoming guests. So thanks again, Amy. Send you a hug from Arizona to Las Vegas, dear.
Thank you.
And I have a feeling we're supposed to get together sometime. We're not that far away. There's something cooking there. So we just let it unfold.
Let it work.
And
Let it do
everyone, right. And be safe, be well, and know that a lot of people are having a difficult time right now.
Mm.
Acknowledge that in whatever way you can to help them. A smile, a hello, maybe a nice little prayer, just a good thought. And we need to do that here for our presidential arena, many other things that are changing, but the whole planet. And it's all good. We got to remember that. There's a lot of good that's coming out of this. So God bless all of you. Thanks for being here. And till next week, hopefully see some of you. And bye-bye for now. God
Bye,
bless.
everybody.
Bye. Thank you for coming in.